Hello, everybody. Very sorry for that delay. There's a bit of an echo on my side now, but I guess it's better. If you can hear me, kindly type in the chat box one more time. Ah, great. Okay. If I had any nerves, they're over by now. Okay. All right. So, at this rate, I think we should even play a game. Adam, thank you for that extensive introduction, even though I was on mute. Guys, my name is Lin. I'll breeze over this quick so that we'll actually take 30 minutes now, I promise. We'll be done in the next 30. So my name is Lin. I am from Kenya, but I'm currently pursuing my PhD at Loughborough University. And today I will take you briefly through the outline of what we will do. So I'll give a brief introduction, which is what I'm doing now. Then I will highlight my story, my background, how I came to be where I am today, how we started SWAGA in 2008, what was its driving force. Then third, we're going to talk about SWAGA's work and projects. I'll just do a few highlights of this. Then fourth, and the most important from this webinar, we're going to talk about CAC and the SWAGA Partnership, what that has been to us and what we've learned so far. Point number 5, we'll quickly breeze through my personal experience, that is living in 2 different cultures. As I mentioned before, I'm doing my PhD at Loughborough University, which is actually in the United Kingdom. So what has that been to me and what that has meant in terms of opportunities and how I can help other people in the future. 6, we're going to talk about changing perceptions. How do we raise local voices through international partnerships? How can we be critical of the work that we do? And then finally, we'll open the floor to questions. And you guys are free to ask any questions at any point in time during this webinar and to be my timekeepers. Okay, so let's start. All right, Adam, could you kindly change the slide for me? Oops. Right, so my story. In terms of education, I started my undergrad at USIU, which is the United States International University in Nairobi, and I did my bachelor's degree in international relations. This is where my love for conflict prevention and peace building studies took shape. When I graduated in 2009, I looked for opportunities to work with organizations that were in peacekeeping, that were interested in helping communities develop their work. But there was no bridge. So between 2010 and 2011, I was very fortunate to get the opportunity to work in New York at the United Nations headquarters as a UNV. I applied while I was in Nairobi. And during that 6 months, I worked with the United Nations Office for Partnerships. It was such an amazing opportunity because I got to work with organizations that were interested in partnerships with the United Nations, such as the IOC. We had a women's empowerment breakfast with Olympians. We had different organizations within the UN, such as UNICEF, wanting to work with us. And even though I was an intern there, I got really exposed to different elements of sport and different elements of peace, which would then inform my decision to pursue my master's with the International University of Monaco in 2011. There was a new program that they launched called a Master's in Sustainable Peace Through Sports. We were the founding class. I don't know if one of my classmates is on the webinar today. She's called Dana. So we were the founding class, and we were basically being taught by practitioners who are from the field of sports for development, and we were being taught by academics who had written thousands and, well, maybe thousands is a bit exaggerating, who had written a lot of papers on sports for development and peace. And as a result of that, we became well equipped. We were called Engineers of Peace by Peace and Sport, which is based in Monaco. And it was a very eye-opening experience. 2013, I graduated and I relocated back to Kenya. This is where I began to seriously build on the work of SWAGA that my sister had begun in 2008. Now, you can see the fourth point here is the foundation of SWAGA and the driving force. My sister is called Katra, and she started SWAGA actually, and I must give her credit for that. SWAGA stands for Sports with a Goal Africa, and it's a sports initiative that focuses on personal and community empowerment through sport. The tagline back in 2008 to 2010 was on using our talents to reach our targets. We started SWAGA with the aim of raising awareness on the MDGs. You remember the Millennium Development Goals, which are now subsequently called the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, whilst doing the MDGs, we held a lot of traditional games in Baringo County, where we had people play with what was locally available, and we used sport as a connecting tool, so to speak. We had people talk to us about what the issues are. Was it water? Was it poverty? How could we link them to the MDGs? And so that's how SWAGA began to evolve. But then we underwent a massive rebrand in terms of the logo, in terms of the aims and the objectives. And so this is what it actually looks like today. So I've been continuing with the work of SWAGA since then. That would be, in a nutshell, my story. In 2015, I remember when Adam was doing a short introduction of myself, he said that we met in Florida. I was one of the youth chosen to attend the United Nations Office on Sport for Development and Peace Young Leaders Program. And this is actually where I got really empowered and learned how to use sport as a tool to engage the community, to stir up conversation with young people, to change how people looked at the issues in the environment. And it was a very empowering program, which I believe has helped a lot of young people since getting back. Now, SWAGA projects, I said I'd mentioned 3 top projects. The first one you can see on your top left-hand side is One Ball, One Bike, One Goal. We launched this out in 2016, January, February 2016, and it was actually a 25-day, 7,000-kilometer ride from Nairobi all the way through to Cape Town, South Africa. And the goal behind this entire campaign was to raise awareness on the SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals, but particularly goal number 3, which is how to promote health and well-being using sport. Our hashtag was Why We Play, and we had, this was our first time that we worked with a lot of international partners as well as national partners. KTM is a motorbike company, and right below this image you can see Mushai, who's on a motorbike. He's the one who rode all the way from Nairobi through to Cape Town, and Titus is on his right. He drove down in his Subaru, which was completely decked out and prepared for the journey. Michelin International gave us tires for the journey. Subaru Kenya did a full checkup of the car before and after. Shell VP Power gave us 300,000 for fuel for the entire journey. And we actually learned that we can, through sports for development and sports for social good, we could do a lot of good for the country, and we could do a lot of good internationally. So that was our first trial run. We're going to have another One Ball, One Bike, One Goal next year. Coaches Across Continents was very instrumental in this campaign as well, because we were able to work with all their partners across the 8 different countries. So in Malawi, they connected us to Chituka village. In Tanzania, we met people in Segida. In Cape Town, they met people as well. And so it was really nice to learn and share lessons on how things are improved through sports. Then you have the Baringo County International Sports Day. This is something that happens annually as well. It's to celebrate the International Day of Sport for Development and Peace. And why this is particularly important is because we worked with 10 different schools in this particular instance, and these schools are around a conflict area. In Baringo County, which is in the Rift Valley of Kenya, there's issues of traditional radicalization, so you would say, which is there's cattle rustling, there is early childhood marriages, there is different issues that are facing young people in that community. Now, the reason why we do the inter-school sports day is for it to be a platform where young people can tell the leaders what the issues are and how they can be addressed. So this has been something that we really enjoy, and we did it in 2015, 2016, and now 2017 as well. We worked with UN Habitat. Finally, you can see some people running below that final image. We have a program called Beyond the Finish Line, which is actually our tagline. And in 2015 and 2016, we helped a number of athletes, I would say 5 athletes, to participate in national races such as the Standard Chartered Marathon, getting them registered, speaking to them about what are their issues, what prevents them from actually achieving their full target. And that was very successful, but of course it comes with a lot of funding challenges. So we are yet to pursue this fully. But an interesting project with that Beyond the Finish Line program was an athlete called Rebi. Rebi was scheduled to run the New York Marathon together with Peace and Sports in 2015 because she was very talented, but unfortunately she had a knee injury. But this is something that is still very much in line with our program objectives. Right, if we move on to the next slide. These are images from the One Ball, One Bike, One Goal initiative that Titus and Mushai went through. And this is an image in Chituka village in Malawi. This particular village is very interesting and very inspiring because this old man that you see holding the ball is the community impact coach. And he has been so committed to this program. He brings the footballs, he coaches these young people. And what's even better is that apart from sport, they do a lot of education training with them. And there was a lot of young women and girls who were doing an excellent, who were playing the sports very well. They were actually the ones beating the boys, which was really encouraging to see. So I'm sure in a future webinar, Mushai and Titus will be happy to talk about this trip and what it meant for them and what they learned, and even compile and share the report. If we move on to the 6th slide, I'm now going to talk about the SWAGA and Coaches Across Continents Partnership. So in 2016, we began our first on-field training, which was held in Mogotio, Baringo, Mogotio Girls Secondary School. We had over 50 coaches attend, 20 of whom were women, which was very encouraging. And of these 50 coaches and participants, they included PE teachers from 5 different schools. What was really good was that we had over 300 children in participation throughout the week training. And so there was a lot of coach back sessions, which was very helpful for the teachers. Overall, this was a great success, and it was a big learning curve for SWAGA, for the teachers, and also for coaches across continents. I'll speak more on the learning curve shortly. Just as a point note, we also had the 2017 program, which is in July this year, between the 10th and the 11th and the 14th of July. Still at Mogotio Girls Secondary School, and I will discuss more on the learning curve. Is everyone with me? I'm not sure if I'm just talking to myself. If you can hear me, thank you. All right, cheers. Right, so here are some images of the training. This is from year 2016, where we have children from Mogotio Primary School doing a coach back session with many of the Mogotio teachers. We have some of the girls and the women from Mogotio FC. And then right below we have, this was International Women's Day, where, as SWAGA coaches, we were learning from the young girls, what are some of the issues that you're facing? What hinders your empowerment? How can we help more? How is sport helping you? Since we started this program with coaches across continents, how do you feel that in terms of your voice? Do you feel that you are heard more? How can we improve it? And it was particularly helpful to do this work with coaches across continents because initially we didn't have a set curriculum. We didn't have something that could guide the work that these teachers were doing. PE lessons in a lot of schools in Kenya, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but for a lot of schools where we come from, are just basically run across the field for 45 minutes or hang around the trees and then go back to class. But then in engaging these physical education teachers, these PE teachers, we found that there was content to share, there was room for people to actually think, not only the teachers, but especially the students. And as a result of doing this program, there was increased local agency, local voice, so the girls were becoming more confident, they were taking more ownership of their games, and were actually playing more. That being said, this program also works with boys and men. So I know I've mentioned a lot on women, but it's something that's dear to my heart. Right. Next slide is actually this year. You can see Nico. I'm sure a number of us have had the opportunity to work with Nico Porter, who is a community impact coach from Tanzania. Nico is phenomenal, and here he was just inspiring the coaches yet again. Some of these people here that you see on the top right are returnee coaches. Some of them are new. Then we have Mark Gabriel on the second picture there, and we have Edwin Lubia in the bottom right corner. He's actually our field program officer in SWAGA in Kenya right now, and he's been very helpful since a lot of our team is away from Kenya at the moment. So at the end of our program, we usually give the coaches a certificate because a lot of them need to show the schools that they're from that they were actually at the training for the 5 days that they were there. This is a final, just some pictures to show you of the work that we've been able to do with CAC. All this has been in Mogotio for continuity, and it's made it easier to track how many people are coming in and how many people, thanks Sadiq, and how many people have fallen through the cracks. So it's just been wonderful, just seeing the transformation of a lot of these young people, a lot of these coaches, and even just creating a sense of family within ourselves as SWAGA. We now call ourselves Team SWAGA. Right. So let's move on to the learning curve, what this partnership has meant to us. In terms of finding participants, how do we go about it? We engage the schools within the region. And in order to get a hold of the teachers, we work with the County Education Office, where SWAGA, in collaboration with Mogotio Girls Secondary School, who have been very, very helpful to us, we write out official letters inviting teachers and new teachers to come for the training session, to come for the 1 week Football for Social Impact training. A requirement that we have is that they have to be at least 2 teachers, 1 male, 1 female, preferably in the sports department, but whoever else is available is encouraged to attend. Then in terms of keeping in touch, we found that social media has been very helpful to us. We have an email list where Charlie and Marcus can attest to sending out the year-round curriculum to all these participants because they were able to also take their contact information. But we also use Facebook and mostly WhatsApp. WhatsApp, we have a CAC SWAGA coaching group, and we have these coaches send back pictures of the work that they're doing. And in terms of incentives for this is the more pictures you send, you're recognized for your excellence. The more pictures of you using the curriculum, you can then get a chance to get more equipment, which we then send to you. So we found that pretty helpful in terms of getting everybody involved. But then, of course, there's some people who fall in through the cracks because there's not much access to internet, or phones are broken, or something happens and you're not able to reach them. So what we've done, and it's still in its early stages, is to have a community coach visit the schools, and he basically reports back on the progress of how things are running, how teachers are implementing the games, how the children are responding to the games. And I'm sure that this year we'll have a much stronger monitoring and evaluation program because it's something that we hadn't done very well in 2016. Finally, we have innovative partnerships. By this I mean that as a lot of budding sports for development organizations that are online today, or volunteers or officials on this webinar, sometimes you don't have all the equipment, sometimes you don't have all the money to get everything, but you have something that you can give. So for instance, this year, we realized, oh goodness, we don't have bibs. But one of our good friends, Makini High School, has a lot of bibs that they can give us in exchange for something else. So we borrow so that we can make sure we can have a successful program. And in exchange, they can borrow something from us, or we can give our skills and our time from what we've learned from the partnership. Right. I'm going to touch on direct and indirect impacts that have come as a result of this partnership. As I mentioned before, over 300 children have had repeat access to the year-round curriculum in Mogotio and Baringo County. I also mentioned that the PE lessons have improved drastically as a result of the content that was shared by coaches across continents to SWAGA. When we started, we only had 2 staff members, but now we have 6. And of these 6, 3 of them are female, which makes me really happy because then sport is also growing. Other positive impacts are access to equipment. A lot of you are probably aware of the One World Football Project, the indestructible footballs, which is just an excellent phenomenon. As a result of this partnership, we have had access to those footballs. I actually have some that I have to find a way to take to Kenya, some more to take to Kenya. Thanks, guys. And then we've also grown, we also realized that you can't wait for funding to reach you. You have to find ways to raise money as an organization. So we're making sisal nets, sisal football nets, because a lot of the schools that we work in only have the posts and we have an abundance of sisal. So we contacted one of our good friends in Mogotio and told them, can we use your recycled waste to create football nets? And this has been excellent because some of the schools have these nets and are now selling them at a fee so that they can raise money for further equipment or raise money to buy bibs. But it's been a good learning curve in that sense. Then the Ask for Choice program, which rolled out in 2016 and again in 2017. We now have the women and girls meeting twice a month to discuss issues that are affecting them, issues such as lack of access to education, early childhood marriages, gender roles. How can we maintain a balance? Because culture is still very important and we don't want to disrupt that. But how can we question the harmful practices? How can sport raise our voice while being respectful of what has been there for years? So that's been good. Finally, we have increased our reach of male and female facilitators between the ages of 16 and 30. By this, I mean from the year 2015 to now, initially there were 20, and now as of 2017, we have 40 facilitators. Challenges. Top of the list is getting all returnee coaches to attend sessions. As we know, life can get in the way sometimes, and so you can't have 100% returnee of coaches, but we've managed to get quite a number to come back this year. Location and distance to the training ground, because the region where we work is very spread out. Some coaches have had a bit of a problem getting to the location where we hold the Football for Social Impact training. So this is something that we're working on in terms of planning ahead. So for instance, 2018 is rolling up. How do we save enough as an organization, or how do we sell more nets so that we can put some money away to ensure that when that time comes, teachers can come and there'll be no excuse for anyone to miss. Equipment. This has called for a substitution in terms of adapted equipment. Like we said, what do we have available? We have an abundance of sisal. So that is something that we're using. And also adapting the concept that MISA has, which is the use of paper bags and socks, and everything that's available to us to make a ball. Funding is a challenge that I know a lot of us are aware of, but this is something that we are circumventing as an organization by using what we have and staying within our means so that sports is still played, so that the message is still heard, because we already have access to the curriculum. Of course, there's needs, but if we've learned to keep them lean, to keep our costs low, so that we can roll out the programs. Because at the end of the day, we want people to get access to the sports, and so we do whatever we can in our power to make sure that happens. A final and interesting challenge is actually the request for incentives. I experienced a bit of this year, where I had some coaches, not all of them, but some community members and attendees thinking that because we're working with an international partner, we are getting funding money. But what they didn't understand is that this is from a reserve that SWAGA has been building and is growing as we apply for funding. And so, you get requests for incentives in terms of, oh, can you send me transport? Otherwise, I can't make it. Or what else will I get from attending the session? And, this is where you're trying to explain to people that this is beyond you. What you will learn from this training is going to transform the lives of many other young people, whether you know it or not. So if you take it seriously, you're changing lives for the better. So that request for incentives is still a big problem, but it's something that we continue to tackle by being very honest about this is where cash is coming from, this is what we have, and that the partnership with CAC is actually an arrangement where, as I'm sure we're all aware, they are able to fund their travel, but as the hosting partner, you take care of accommodation and transport while they're on the ground. And so just maintaining that balance and managing those expectations is something that's been very important. All right. Personal experience. I mentioned that I'm currently living in the UK. I'm actually a Commonwealth scholar, and being here from Kenya, it's been a great learning curve because you have people who I'm learning from a lot of different cultures. I'm learning how to conduct a research properly. I'm learning how to write reports properly. Loughborough University, if you are not aware, is the foremost university in the world for sporting excellence. And so just being in this environment has opened my mind and my eyes to so much opportunity, which in turn I am planning to take back home, whether academically, whether in research and in papers. Finally, I'd like to touch on, access to academia and expertise on sport for development, what that has meant for me, and practically how I'm using what I know to improve the livelihoods of others. So yeah, just as a nutshell, I have a question for everyone. I see that the slide is moving. What do you, as an implementing partner, do to make your program with CAC sustainable and locally relevant? What do you, as an implementing partner, you who's listening in on this webinar, what do you do to make the program with CAC sustainable and locally relevant? And also, if you have ideas after listening to what I've said, please share with me how we can improve, how we can learn from each other. And thank you so much for listening, even when you couldn't hear me. Thank you. So I'll give you some time to just write now. We have about 2 minutes to the end. If you just tell me what you do as an implementing partner. Okay. Thanks, Baudel. All right, guys. So what do you guys do? Thanks, Ali. Asante sana. What do you guys do as implementing partners to make your programs great? Thank you. I'm very sorry for rapping through the presentation. Thanks, Sadiq. Me too, Marcus. I don't have incentives, but I'd appreciate your thoughts. Sawa, no problem. No problem, Ali. For those who don't understand, Ali is saying he wants to come to Nairobi to see our organization. Okay, maybe I simplify the question. Thank you very much. Oh, nice. Oh, great work, Lorik. Ah, good. Thanks, Sadiq. Ownership. Uh-huh. How do you inspire ownership, Sadiq? How do you make people take ownership? Okay, thank you, Sadiq. I see you say a key thing is ownership. Does anyone else have ideas on how we can make it more locally relevant or what we can do? I know we're out of time, but I'd still be very keen to hear your ideas and what you do. Oh, nice. That's good accountability. Okay, so Sadiq, you mean by them being the ones taking the lead, eh? Okay. Oh, Gishan, I've heard of your work. Well done, well done. Very true, Edwin. Thank you. Thank you, Sadiq. We will be in touch. Absolutely. Yep. Ah, good. Maybe that's something we should implement as Swaga because we've not used FB very well. We've used WhatsApp, but we'll use FB as well. Yeah, sure. Oh. Ali, we use football and volleyball. And sometimes, if we're working with young people, we use, like children, we use different games like the sack race, we use egg race, and traditional games. Any more questions? Ali, what organization do you work with? Let me try that, Marcus. This slide? Guys, that's our Twitter, our Facebook, and contact information in Nairobi. Yeah, I'm trying to follow Baudel's chat. Thanks, David. Yes. Um, thank thank you so much, everybody, for your patience. Um, oh, thank you, Lorik. I look forward to hearing from you. Please type in your email. And lesson to everybody in the future. Make sure you check your EduLib and your and everything in advance. Yeah, thank you so much, CAC, and thank you, Edwin. Swaga is stronger because of people like you. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me.